On today's wrestling news, is Donald Trump going to be at John Cena's last match?
We've got the latest on Becky Lynch's shocking recent revelation.
John Cena comments on Vince McMahon.
And is there going to be a new role for Nikki Bella?
Are you ready? Are you ready for the news time? Yes, my name is Phil Chambers. This is Salty Sea Dog. Gareth's over there.
Third billing again.
But yeah, wrestling news. Let's talk about it. John Cena has his last match coming up pretty soon. Don't know if you know about this. But it's going to be against Gunther. That happened on SmackDown last night. He won the finals of the John Cena tournament thing. So it's going to be John Cena versus Gunther. But guess who else might be there? Maybe, possibly, maybe not. There's a lot of rumors swirling around about Donald Trump showing up at John Cena's last match. So a lot of people have been going around being asked about this. But the latest update is from Fightful Select, who have been asking their sources within WWE. And their sources says, I would be surprised, but who effing knows at this point? Which is, it feels like that just says more about sort of the backstage world within WWE at the minute than specifically about Donald Trump showing up at John Cena's last match. Because, yeah, just even like people backstage at WWE are just exasperated about who knows? Who knows at this point anything could happen?
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things, if they announced it ahead of time, I think they're probably pretty certain that a good chunk of the audience would be like, don't want that on my screen, and it's that negative reaction that you could possibly get. And it's probably the same with if they announced a certain former founders that I think I've seen on Instagram or Twitter. Yeah, there's been all these things where like if WWE came out and just went, yeah, they're going to be there, there'd be a reaction. Whereas if they just do it on the night, it's like, oh yeah, I'll just like have them in passing on the count, whatever it is. They could just go, well, there it is, tough, deal with it, moving on. John Cena, they'd probably get away with it to a degree. For some reason, when we talk about is Donald Trump going to be there, my mind went to triple threat. Now, I'd just put him in the match. Why not with Gunther? I've Gunther chopping the hell. I'd watch that. I would approve
the hell out of Gunther chopping Donald Trump. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, something I never thought we'd say in a news video, but here we are. 2025 is a weird place, isn't it?
Do you want to see it? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah,
be nice.
Put it down there. Be nice. But it's weird. That's the underlying thing with a lot of this Cena last match stuff. It's just going to be a very surreal night, I believe. Like moving into different territory now, quite serious territory. Obviously, Becky Lynch mentioned on an interview podcast, whatever it was recently, about there was a talent backstage who apparently was blacklisting some of the women who were like refusing to sleep with them. Like it's just awful. Like we've covered the story before. If you're not sure about it, just type in like Becky Lynch blacklisted on Google, and I'm sure that'll pop up. But Fightful Select have done a bit of digging, obviously, because it has been a big story. When it did pop, it was like, okay, we need to know a bit more about this, obviously. And then they've said that they've asked over 24 wrestlers about who Becky Lynch was referencing there, like when they were talking about blacklisting women's talent that wouldn't sleep with them, like the person who was being referenced there. And apparently none of the talent that they spoke with claimed that they knew. And it was also intimated to them that WWE planned to look into it upon hearing the story, obviously, but they've had no further updates, and they have continued asking. So I'm assuming it is going to be an ongoing thing for until it's resolved, maybe, or is this going to be another one of those WWE things where they just bury their heads in the sand and just wait for it to go away? Like you never know, but it's quite serious, and it was one of those stories that drops, and you just thought, this is such a high-profile person just bravely talking about it. It's not a great look if it doesn't get resolved. So I hope it does. I hope that whoever the person is gets found out and like something is done about it, justice is served and all the rest of it. But yeah, but still a strange one right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like even if they're asking people backstage, maybe it's not that they don't know, but that they don't want to say anything about it. Because like when people get to these certain positions of power, I mean, the reason these things go on for so long is because people don't like to talk up about it, because then things can happen to them or whatever. So it's gross. Yeah, absolutely gross, whatever it is. And I do genuinely hope we get to the bottom of it and find out who it is. And it all gets sorted. But like at this point, who knows if we'll ever actually find out. It's such a historic boys club of wrestling that, like, I mean, that's the reason all this Vince McMahon stuff stuck around and was hidden for so long. And it's not like you go back through the history of wrestling and things have been hidden for ever and ever and ever. It's just all gets sort of tied up
and in a way,
little insular world.
In a way, it's almost like why Becky, when she did reveal the story, didn't name the name straight away, because you have to imagine that she's probably in a position thinking, if I do like kind of say this name now, what happens to my position? I've got responsibility. I've got kids at home. It's a huge thing, and it's awful that they put in those positions where they feel things are at risk by just telling the truth and getting justice. But it's just where we're at with it right now. And like you said there, hopefully we just find out and get to the bottom of it at some point.
Absolutely. But moving on to John Cena again. He has been doing the rounds, obviously, for the John Cena's last match tournament. He's been doing a bunch of interviews. And he's been on the Joe Rogan podcast. And he's said a lot of things. So he was talking about Vince McMahon for most of it. Well, not for most of the podcast, but most of the sort of controversial things that have come out since then have been about the Vince McMahon comments. So basically, he started off by sort of confirming that Vince McMahon is fully out of WWE, and that any decisions for him to potentially come back is way above John Cena's pay grade. There has been rumours about him showing up at John Cena's last match, along with, just sit Donald Trump and Vince McMahon side by side in the front row. I can very much see WWE doing that. But we'll have to wait and see with that kind of thing. He didn't say anything about that here. So we do have a few quotes from him, though, that I'm going to have to go through them all, so bear with me.
He did a lot of talking on this podcast.
He did a lot of talking. So, yeah, basically in talking about sort of Vince McMahon and sort of his general view on everything, he says that, in my eyes, I would like to think that time heals everything, and I believe in forgiveness. I also believe in looking at the body of work, but I also know there's a lot of fragile stuff going on there. Kind of talking around sexual abuse allegations, sex trafficking, and a lot of grim stuff that's come up through the Janelle Grant lawsuits. So when kind of commenting on sort of former comments that John Cena has made, he's not been shy in the past of talking about Vince McMahon and sort of what he means as a person to John Cena, sort of outside of everything else. Back in April, he said that he doesn't care who heard it. He loves Vince McMahon. He's also one of the guys who attended his 80th birthday party. Both of these long after everything came out about the scandals. So John Cena says about that, I've learned to become more accountable for what I say. Just because of how I feel about a certain person doesn't exonerate them from being accountable for their actions. Just because Vince McMahon started all of this, talking about everything in WWE and all that, that doesn't mean he doesn't need to be accountable for his actions. So let's figure out what that means and then figure out if we can move forward and bring that back into the fold, or if it stays the way it is, about like potentially bringing Vince McMahon back. He did speak about a lot of that Vince McMahon has a lot to offer. He was on the Bill Simmons podcast as well, sort of before the Joe Rogan one the day before. And in that, he spoke about how he sort of never wanted Vince McMahon to leave WWE in the first place, and that he still believes Vince has a lot to offer the business in general. But obviously, there are other things that are the reason is why he's sort of out of it at the minute. But back to the Joe Rogan podcast, Tony Hinchcliffe was on there too, and he said that Vince would be a great guest for the Joe Rogan podcast. And Cena completely agreed and thinks that Vince would love to, but said that he said that he wasn't sure when the right time would be, however, due to all of the fragile stuff going on. He referred to fragile stuff going on quite a lot when it's not that fragile, it's sexual abuse allegations. So he also spoke about the parallels of John Cena's relationship with his own father and sort of where this fits into the sort of wider, so his thoughts on Vince McMahon anyway, which kind of makes a lot of sense of his former comments about Vince McMahon and things when you kind of put it into this perspective. So he spoke about how John Cena had a shitty relationship with his dad, and they've mended fences. He just wanted him to be something else. He wanted that mother effer to change. I always wanted him to be something else. Finally, John got out of his own way. The hard thing is meeting the guy where he's at. The hard thing is allowing him to be who he is. Take the weight off my back and say, yo, I might have needed you to be this in my life, but because you weren't, man, because of your absence and being that dad, not being that dad I had in my mind, I ended up getting all of these effing cool male mentors and things. So it's like seeing the the brighter side, or seeing the things that it's given him outside of what he wanted his relationship with his dad to be. But he also, which is probably a good way of looking at it, to be fair, it's like you can hold on to resentment a lot, and it's a lot to carry around. He also ended it by saying, when we sit, there's some stuff that my dad says that's all effed up. I want to call my dad and say, like, what the F are you doing? But then, like, no, he's doing what he does. This is him. This is the dad I love. The easy thing to do is to hold a grudge against my dad. What I really wanted to do was tell my dad I love him and sit down with him and be like, yo, let's effing break bread. He was dropping a lot of swear words in this podcast. Yeah. So you can see, like, the parallel of having a sort of crappy relationship with your dad, and like all you really want to do is make up with him and like forgive him, and because he's your dad at the end of the day. And like you can see, like a lot of these wrestlers, where after all the Vince McMahon stuff happened, they've all got very strange relationships with Vince McMahon. He's like become a father figure to a lot of people in wrestling, and so you can see why some of them have had a hard time saying the right things when it comes to this, because they've got this very, very deeply sort of personal relationship with him that's outside of all of the allegations and things. But you've really, really got to take this into account whenever you're talking about these things, and pair the two together. You may have had a great relationship with him, but he's, by all accounts, was a pretty terrible guy, and you've got to weigh these two things up against each other.
I always quite appreciated, I might be paraphrasing, I don't think I'm making it up, but I think CM Punk's approach to it all was like, I've already got a dad, mate. Don't need another father figure. Like, just and I think that's why he's always been able to kind of like sit back and just go, no, I'm not being manipulated and whatever. And just because, like you said, there's been a lot of stars over the years that have had that relationship with him. I don't think it's a coincidence. Yeah. I think like that's the way he's gone about his business over the years. And I don't think I was aware of how Cena's relationship was with his dad.
Me neither.
Before that. So that is eye-opening, really eye-opening. And I think just from those quotes, I've not really kind of watched all the clips like for pure context of them, but just taking the quotes as they are, it at least feels like he's reflected a little bit in terms of like his point of view.
Prior comments and things, and what people have said about them since then. It definitely feels more like he's looking at what his own relationship means in the larger context kind of thing, and sort of, taking in much more viewpoints around it.
Yeah, and he's not just being like, this is how I feel, like I don't care about when it's not that. It's, okay, this is sensitive stuff right now, fragile, whatever you want to like word it, but it's something where his opinion isn't just the only one that matters on this. And I think probably the reaction that he's got has just forced him to just alter the way he's looking at it and take it as it's coming, because it is like a very like, this is awful, the stuff that's like obviously come out and all, it's dreadful, there's no excusing it, there's no like talking your way around that. But then, like you're saying, there's a lot of people who've got those connections with him that it's going to muddy those waters in a really weird and uncomfortable way for them, but they've got to work their way through it. And this feels like one of the better kind of quotes, if there's even such a thing on it, or like better approaches. I know, do you know what I mean? It is just like I think Punk's probably had the best one, where it was just like, it's horrendous, the stuff that's come out, it's just horrendous. Yeah, like that you can separate the man from the actions as much as you want, but it's horrendous. And I think that is the bit that needs to kind of be in the news a little bit more. But fascinating as a podcast, and he was clearly just a bit untethered and effing and jeffing, having a good time relaxing and just shooting the breeze with Joe. So it felt like a very different, like the reins were off kind of Cena, really, which I've not seen that for a while.
It's like a pressure's off kind of thing, like last run it's like, well, I don't need to be Mr. Media guy. Like I can just be me.
Just chilling, just chatting. It was interesting. It definitely was. Speaking of like things that are quite interesting that could be happening in the future, the last thing we're going to talk about today, it was in the Wrestling Observer, the newsletter, the latest one. We've been talking about Nikki Bella, who obviously just had a World Championship match at Survivor Series against Stephanie Vacque, that one. And it's been a divisive match, let's just put it that way, for a lot of people. And clearly WWE are now sitting back going, right, where's Nikki's place as this character? Like in this WWE landscape right now, what are we going to do with it going forward? But according to Dave Meltzer, there's been talk of transitioning her to a heel manager role down the line. Not sure who she'd be the heel manager of. I see that as a role that she could do really well in, to be honest. I could see it being like the heel manager of like a Tiffany Stratton or something. That'd be great. I'd be into that. And then on top of this is a little tidbit on the side. She's also starring in a Google holiday movie called The Gift Exchange, which I did a quick research on. Looks great. Really good. Can't wait. We'll be there opening night.
5 stars.
Yeah. She's having a go. I commend her for that. She's having a go.
Yeah, I guess this ties into Nikki's comments. I think was it last week we reported on it about like her saying that like this is her kind of final run, like as a sort of in-ring thing. So you wonder whether that's like she'll do her in-ring stuff, and when she finishes that up, then she'll transition to being a heel manager, or whether this is more sort of part of this run. But yeah, I'd be up for Nikki Bella as a heel manager. I think just wrestling in general needs more managers because they're always great and always useful. And whoever she gets paired up with would definitely get a boost from it. For some reason, when you were talking about it, I was like, she definitely doesn't need a manager, but her Nikki Bella and Chelsea Green would be an interesting partnership. I think that could be quite entertaining. But yeah, like I'd heel Tiffany Stratton. I think it'd be a really good pairing for Nikki Bella. But let us know down in the comments below. Who would you want to see Nikki Bella manage? Let us know. Interesting times.
Yeah, very interesting. Is that us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Might as well wrap this thing up, eh?
Yeah. But that's it. Thank you very much for watching. You can follow us on the social medias. You can follow me on Instagram at PhilMyChambers. You can follow this guy
everywhere at gmorgan04 on X, at Gareth Morgram on Instagram, and then within that Instagram, if you like personal fitness and just feeling healthy and just looking at people lifting weights, yeah, at fitness.focus.gm. That's there as well. Is Salty having a meltdown?
Yeah, he hates fitness.
Yeah, I've been over this. We're going to get him to do some sit-ups. He'll be fine. Come on, you like sit-ups? Oh, no, he doesn't. Yeah, change your mind. Yep, cool. You do you, Salty. Have some salty snacks and have a good time.
There we go. Bye.